Good morning. You know, if there were possibility to borrow a gift, I would borrow Jenny's voice. And another gift I would be happy to borrow will also be the fingers of Delon. They are very great. Can we just give them a hand clap? Thank you for such a great job this morning. In our passage this morning, earlier read by Jenny, Luke chapter 13, verses 10 to 17, we hear about a woman who was bent over for 18 long years from a certain spirit. I can imagine not only her struggle and embarrassment, but the psychological and physical pain associated with that bend over she carried for 18 years. Talking about physical pain, I am sure at some point in all of our lives we get to experience some level of pain. But right now, I may not necessarily be aware, I may not know about other gardeners. Most of you will know that I am a gardener. I may not know about the pain of other gardeners or what other gardeners go through. But when I bend over to dig the soil and to weed the grass, I get pain from my back just from bending over. Thanks to Brian, who helped me with his tractor this year and helped plow my Iota's garden this year. I get to bend over to dig the soil, to transplant the beets, to transplant the carrots, the cabbages, and weeding the grass at least 3 to 6 hours a week. At the Rochester Covenant Church Garden, I spent about 111 hours during the last year, summer, digging rocks, preparing for this garden season. The pain I get from bending over was so severe, it's sometimes severe, that when I bend over in the garden to wake up, I get to struggle. The pain in my back from bending over can be so bad that even when I take breath, I get to feel the pain. But the good news about my pain is a temporary pain. And when I begin to harvest, I get to celebrate. It's time for celebration when I begin to harvest. And talking about harvest, you will see the beets. That was just recently. I got a couple of cabbages and that of carrots. And when I get to harvest my grains, my cabbages, the carrots, the beets, I get to celebrate. And the pain goes away. You see the size of a beet over there. To those who think it's a Photoshop, that's not a Photoshop. I brought a beet in real life. This is the size of my beets. And I got about 200 pieces to harvest at the end of the month. I don't know where to carry these beets. Last year, when I harvested the beets, the first beet, it was a wheelbarrow full. I asked Brian, come and take the beet. He said, to do what with it? So I noticed that not many people wanting the beets, or even the green beans, or even the corn, or even the cabbages. I may be harvesting like around 200 heads of cabbage. But the question, where do I even carry it? Just when I came with cabbage, or even with the beets, Paul, do you want? Paul said, no, I don't want it. I had to take them back to the garden, begging people to take them. So that's my disappointment. That's my frustration that I can't find anybody to eat these things. Like literally begging people, taking it back to the garden to give to people. But the point I'm making is when I've experienced all these difficult pain, by the time I get to harvest, I forget about all my pain. The passage today did not mention pain. It says the woman was bent over for 18 years. But the reality is, as someone who has gotten pain from bending over, I'm sure that woman carried pain for those 18 years. Day in and day out, I can imagine the pain she carried just from bending over. My pain is just temporary, just few weeks is gone, but 18 solid years, somebody is bent over. There are many times Just like this woman, people get to assign names to us. Because this very woman, people did not even know her name. She was only referred to as the band over woman. Just like this woman, there are times where people get to brand us with certain things. They just gave us names, they just brand us, they just label us. Simply because we don't look like them or they don't look like us. Let us stop branding people, labeling people because of their look, because of how they appear. Because that woman, according to the Bible, she was never called by her name. They call her the band over woman. There are times where we always just want to associate, to assign names to people without knowing their conditions, their situation, and their circumstances. Oh, yes, that blind man. I'm talking about that woman who is happy all the time. I'm talking about that woman or that man who stands by the street corner begging all the time. I'm talking about that man who is in the wheelchair. Every now and then we brand people, we label people, we give names to people. They brand people, we label people because of their condition, their situation, never knowing, never even willing to know their stories. Never willing to extend hands of friendship, never willing to even sit by them. We don't want to know. All we want to do is to label people. That's what happened to that woman. Nobody knew her name. She was called the band over woman. I can imagine each time people saw this poor woman coming their direction, they took different route. I can imagine anytime people saw or spotted this woman coming their way, they decided to take a different route because they did not just want to come across a band over woman. As a black man in America, this is one of my experiences. I have had a situation where on this very Viola Road, in a broad daylight, two young white girls, cute girls, walking towards Century High School and coming down towards Jefferson. They saw me. They stopped and looked at each other, and they began running down the street all the way to Jefferson. And all the traffic that came, and as they ran, looking behind, they got to know there was a black man coming down the road. That's why the young girls were walking. I won't mention about my experience from Edmonton in New Jersey, neither on County Road 25 in Byron. But all the time, we are all the time branding people, afraid of people, simply because of their look. Here in Rochester, I've had people switch sidewalk very quickly because they saw me walking down the street. But at the end of the day, they had to cross back because we were either entering the same grocery store or restaurant. You had just switched lane because you saw a black man coming. The fact of the matter is, in America, when most white people see black people, they see nothing but crime. Sometimes I get to ask myself, what can I wear to present myself as a good guy? And it's a burden that I carry each day in America. I've had a situation where people are trembling to lock their car simply because there was a black man who walked by. That has been my situation here in America. A lady quickly drove down the street and parked down the street, took her cell phone to call her white neighbor simply because she has seen a black man on her white neighbor's porch. This white neighbor who was called had to say, "Oh, that's my friend Jerry. He decided to stay in our house while we are on holiday." But the good thing is, weeks later, this white lady came back to apologize to her friend, not necessarily to me, but to her friend for her action, and told her, "I was looking out for you." But the thing is, if we are only looking out for people who look like us, we are not looking the way of Jesus. And this morning, Jesus has called us to look at the way of Jesus. We only want to look after our neighbors or people who look like us, and we don't want to look out for people who don't look like us. But that was not the mission of Jesus. Jesus decided to look at the way of people, of this woman, or even during the ministry of Jesus. Jesus was always at the margin of society. He was there for the poor people, the downtrodden people, and that's the moment before us this morning. Those are just few of my experiences I had. I don't want to go that much. Imagine being bent over for 14 years without walking straight, bent over for 18 years. I kept saying 14 years, but 18 years without pain-free. This lady was so embarrassed. She struggled for 18 long years. Today, there are those who come bending over. Today, there are those who are bending over simply because of their color, because of their look, because of their condition, because of the language they speak, for which they are not responsible. The pastor said Jesus was teaching in the synagogue. This means there were hundreds of people that might have been gathered listening to the wisdom of Jesus. At that moment, Jesus' attention got caught by the woman, bent over condition. Today, I pray that the condition, the situation, the circumstances of other people should catch our attention so that we can act, we can intervene like what Jesus did. Jesus was moved by the agony, the struggle, the pain of this woman that she had endured for 18 solid years, 18 unbroken years. Jesus, like I said, was at the margin of society. He was there for the poor people, the sick people, those who are heartache. Through the eyes of faith, I heard Jesus telling the woman, today your pain has come to an end. Through the eyes of faith, I heard Jesus telling this woman, today people will know your name. Through the eyes of faith, I heard Jesus telling this woman, I have heard your cry. Heaven had heard your cry. Following 18 long years, Jesus invited her over. Jesus told her to come forward. Jesus said to her, woman, you are set free from your infirmity. This is where leaders of the synagogues came talking. Yes, you have 6 days to work, so go back and come back the other days so that you will be healed, not on the Sabbath. And Jesus responded to them, you hypocrites, doesn't each of you on the Sabbath untie your ox and donkey from the store and lead it to give water? Then why not this woman, the daughter of Abraham, whom Satan has kept bound for 18 years, be free or set free on the Sabbath? You know, sometimes human tendency has it that whenever it is not whenever it is not for us or not us, or whenever it is not in our favor, it is not good. Whenever it is not our opinion, it's a mess. Whenever we are not the beneficiaries, we are not part of it. It's a total mess. Whenever it is not our opinion, that those opinions are wrong, but that was not the aim of Jesus, and that is not the aim of Jesus. This morning, like that bent over woman, many of us have come bending over. Many of us have become crippled with so many problems, fears and worries and heartaches. Many of us have come bending over with problems of singleness, looking for love. No woman ever admires us. No man ever proposes to us. That's a lifetime thing. But this is a secret. The day I went to propose to my wife, my wife, I told her, now I'm here. I'd like to marry you. She started saying, well, I don't know whether I'm ready for this thing. I said, you want me or you don't want me? We have to move forward. But we got to handle that. You know, I was thinking about it. I said, you want me or you don't want me? She wanted to try me, but we took care of that. There are people who have come bending over with all kinds of struggles and of brokenness and neglect. Many of us have come bending over with issues of anger, bitterness, illnesses, and depression. Many of us have come bending over with frustration and disappointment. Oh, yes, many of us have come bending over with lifetime, long-time family disputes, hates, and segregation. But like that bent over woman whom Jesus invited to come forward, today you and I are invited by Jesus. Today you and I are called to come forward. Everything we are faced with, anything that we are encountering, Jesus is telling us, come forward. There are many out there, perhaps even in here this morning, who have come bending over with so many issues that only God alone knows your heart. We ourselves, our families, our friends, our neighbors may be bent over due to certain situation. I follow a certain Ugandan comedian on Twitter, and I recently listened to one of his lines. He said, If you see a man talking by himself or to himself, you should know that he's self-employed and he's having a staff meeting. But I think it's just more than self-employed. Perhaps Ruth Backen will tell you that, she frequently caught me talking to myself. Mom, I know that you caught me talking to myself, okay? I know that. But I pretended as though she didn't see me. The reality is, for the last 3 years, I come right here bending over. 3 solid years missing my family. Long and difficult visa process. Family struggles from afar. The death of my father. When family saying we are just waiting for you. Elders of our clan. People of our district just waiting for me. Family calls, pressured every day. I come bending over in the foreign country. If you people were not here as my friends, it could be so difficult. I come bending over all the time, and most of the time, when she caught me talking to myself, the question has been, when will I ever meet my family? That has been the question. So to those of you who will catch me talking to myself, know that's my question I'm asking. Just get to know now. So you don't get to say, I wonder what Jerry is saying. We have all come bending over, some people in a very silent situation, struggling with certain issues. But the promise is this morning, Jesus has called us to come forward. And one important thing I want to talk about here is no matter how terrible our past may be, no matter our condition, let us remember that it doesn't matter with God. Let us respond to God's invitation this morning by casting all our troubles, all our worries to Jesus alone. God is never interested in our past. God is always interested in our present and our future. No matter how dark our past may be, God is always ready to embrace us with light. That's why, because God doesn't care about our past, he chose Moses to lead the children of Israel, even though he had a violent past. Because God doesn't care about our past, he's so much concerned about our present, our future. He chose Paul to lead the mission of the gospel, to preach all over, despite Paul persecuted God's people. There are 2 things: to accept the invitation of Jesus and to trust him. In closing, this is my point. We drive to the airport, we jump on the plane, so relaxed, sometimes sleeping, others are reading, 60,000 feet above sea level, relying on the pilot to fly us safely to our destination. But we don't know that pilot. Some people are planning to go cruising. I don't know their names. I won't call their names. But we go cruising. We jump on the ship. Deep sea, relaxed, merry, making party, and having great time, waiting for the pilot to take us through, to sail us through, even though we don't know the captain. This morning, Jesus, God, whom we know, the Creator, our Maker, our Sustainer, has invited us to come over with whatever condition we find ourselves. And I promise you, He's going to heal us from our infirmity. Amen.